Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our MC, Attorney Roderick R.C. Salazar III.
Thank you, Joanne, for that very kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. Morning. Thank you for coming in despite the typhoon and at a much earlier time at this event. So to our esteemed guests from government, the mining industry, professionals, and non-government organizations, academe, and the Philippine Mining Club members, I'd like to welcome you to today's event, today's luncheon, which is the 80th Philippine Mining Luncheon. And unlike before, we do have two topics. We have two segments, the NCIP talk and later the industry briefings of our presentation sponsors. So today, we would have a discussion on balanced development and Indigenous people's rights, the role of the NCIP in sustainable mining in the Philippines. This will not just be a policy discussion, it is a platform for dialogue, for understanding, and most importantly, action. And as we know, the Philippines is one of the most mineral-rich countries in the world, but also one of the most culturally diverse countries. Our indigenous peoples are stewards of vast ancestral domains that overlap with some of the country's richest mining companies, mining projects, and mineral resources. And this intersection brings both opportunity and tension. So later today, we hope to confront critical questions relating to the topic. And this forum will aim to explore the questions through meaningful conversations between the stakeholders, grounded in the principles of free, prior, and informed consent, social justice, and environmental stewardship. We are fortunate to have with us today a distinguished lineup of speakers and panelists. But before we do so, we will ask you to sit back and enjoy the video presentations of the panelists that we will have today relating to their company's Indigenous peoples projects in their respective areas. And thereafter, we will proceed to the main topic on NCIP. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Luigi Mining Corporation balances economic growth with social responsibility and environmental protection. Under the leadership of President and CEO Jet Tufas, GMC has built meaningful relationships with the Mandaya and Mansaka communities in Davao Oriental. Their commitment to upholding indigenous rights is evident in their day-to-day activities in Mati City. GMC's projects have made a significant impact, providing clean water, solar systems, and road maintenance. These initiatives have improved the quality of life for community members. Future plans include building school facilities, reducing commute time for children, scholarship programs, livelihood projects, medical missions, and skills development programs in partnership with relevant agencies. Guided by free, prior, and informed consent principles, GMC continues to listen and adapt to community needs. They support cultural activities like the annual Araw ng Katutubo in Barangay Tagbinonga, Barangay Tagibo, and Barangay Don Salvador Lopez, celebrating rich traditions and artistry. For GMC, mining is not just about extracting resources. It's about building trust and working towards a better future that's just, inclusive, and respectful of cultural heritage. GMC is dedicated to responsible mining practices by prioritizing community development and cultural preservation, and aims to create a lasting positive impact.
At Global Ferronickel Holdings Incorporated, we believe mining must do more than extract. It must uplift, protect, and partner with the communities it touches. We begin with a promise to respect, protect, and uplift the lives, cultures, and rights of IP communities. We don't just operate on ancestral lands, we collaborate with their people, guided by time-honored wisdom and mutual respect. Every decision starts with dialogue, listening, learning, and securing free, prior, and informed consent, ensuring that our partnership is built on trust, transparency, and care. Education opens doors, and we make sure members of IP communities can walk through them. We fund scholars, equip schools, support educators, address teacher shortages, provide security services, and build school buildings. Because true quality education begins with the strong foundations we provide and the future we invest in. In every community, we bring healthcare closer to home. From free consultations to dental and optical care, from nutrition programs to medical support, we help build healthier, stronger communities. With dedicated doctors, health workers, and ambulances, we go beyond treatment to promote long-term well-being. For Indigenous peoples, caring for the environment is a way of life. We stand with them, restoring forests, preserving watersheds, and nurturing the land so it continues to sustain generations to come. Empowerment begins with opportunity. We support IP families through livelihood programs that honor their skills and traditions, from weaving to farming and fishing, from food production to technical workshops. With tools, training, and funding, we help turn ideas into income and dignity into progress. True change is visible in the roads we build, the lights we install, and the halls we construct. We build with the community, not just for them, fostering pride, resilience, and inclusion along the way. At FNI, Indigenous peoples are not just part of our work, they are our purpose. Their well-being guides every plan, every project. And through this, we've built more than programs. We've laid the groundwork for generations to come. Because sustainable mining isn't just about output. It's about compassion. It's about people. It's about ensuring that the cultural identity of communities endures. that their voices remain heard. When indigenous communities thrive, so does the land. And only then does mining find its truest meaning.
So, there you have it. It seems that, as I said, the mining companies, mining industry, and the IPs are closely integrated, and they are integral to the mining industry as well, as shown by the videos of 4 mining companies involved in mining. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is my privilege to honor and to introduce our keynote speaker. Attorney Arthur K. Herman is the director of the Ancestral Domains Office at the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, or NCIP. He earned his Bachelor of Laws from the University of the Cordilleras in 2000, and in his current role, he leads initiatives to expedite the issuance of certificates of ancestral land titles, or CALTs, and certificates of ancestral domain titles, or CADTs, and collaborates with various stakeholders to address challenges in ancestral domain delineation and registration processes. His work is instrumental in advancing the rights and recognition of indigenous communities in the region. Attorney Herman's responsibilities also encompass overseeing the implementation of the free, prior, and informed consent process, a fundamental mechanism under the Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act, or IPRA, of 1997. FPIC ensures that indigenous cultural communities, or ICCs, and indigenous peoples, IPs, have the right to grant or withhold consent to projects affecting their ancestral domains. This process involves comprehensive community consultations, consensus building, and the issuance of the very important Certificate Precondition, or CP, by the NCIP, which serves as a prerequisite for project implementation. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's all welcome Attorney Arthur Herman to talk about balanced development and indigenous rights.
Thank you, sir, for the very nice obituary. Well, to the officers of the Philippine Mining Club, to my fellow resource speakers, to my esteemed panelists, honored guests, and participants in today's occasion, I take this opportunity to express my deep gratitude for involving me in this very special occasion. Let me begin with a question that continues to challenge our convictions. And this is the question that I ask. Is there such a thing as sustainable mining in the Philippine setting? I ask this not out of doubt, but to lead you into a personal journey. I was born and raised in a small mining town in the north, which we call as Lepanto Mines, or simply Lepanto. In fact, I have entered the mines at the age of 17. And then I resigned when I was already 23 years old to continue with my studies, using my savings that I earned from the mines. This place, which is found in Bangkayan, Benguet, is part of the Cordillera Administrative Region. It's part of the indigenous territories of the Konecranes indigenous peoples. Are there people from Mangkayan here? Indigenous cultural communities from Mangkayan? Oh, they are my town mates, no? And you can find out that we have no tails. As the saying goes, we Igorot have tails at our back. Not really, it's found in front. During the earlier days, Lepanto was more than a mine. It was a community built with the spirit of malasakit. This is a Filipino value rooted on empathy, care, and shared responsibility. The company during those times did not just extract minerals. It built lives. It established schools, hospitals, churches, and homes. It opened roads, supported cooperatives, and responded quickly to disasters not just within its territory, but even outside its borders. Most importantly, it listened to the people, to the culture, and to the land. The spirit of reciprocity and respect defined the relationship between company and community. There was a balance between resource extraction and human development, between economic growth and environmental protection. With many years of genuine care, shared responsibility, and deep sense of community, nurtured by social consciousness, Lepanto transformed from a mining site into a breeding ground of many dreams. So, from the tunnels of that small mining community emerged that not just minerals, but great minds that shaped by resilience, values, and opportunity. No? So, looking at Lepanto, we have produced engineers, doctors, lawyers, teachers, public servants, economic experts, and global professionals. I am also included as I found my way with the IP sector. I hope that Lepanto will not regret this. No? These were not just individuals with degrees, but people who carried with them the spirit of mining community that valued education, discipline, and collective growth. Today, you will find Lepanto home-grown talents across the globe, contributing to the oil and gas industries in the Middle East, managing mega engineering projects across Asia and Africa, leading innovations in information technology, healthcare, and of course, yes, pushing the frontiers of the global mining industry. They are not just professionals, they are torchbearers of a legacy that began in a small town in the territory of Benguet. I'm sure that there are people here in this room who trace their roots from Mangkayan, Benguet. Can you please raise your hands, please? So you can see. They are the living testament that there is indeed sustainable mining. This Lepanto I knew is the reason why I came to believe that indeed there is sustainable mining. It is a lived experience. We often limit the term sustainable mining to advances in technology, environmental safeguards, or better waste management practices. Yun po, it's a very limited interpretation of what really it means by sustainable practice. But it goes much deeper than that. Sustainable mining is everything. In the way a company listens to community concerns, you have seen the video a while ago. on how it invests in the future of children, of its workers. It's in how companies care for the environment. It's not because it is required by law, but because they believe that the land and communities are partners, not mere ore bodies for profit. It's found on how people treat each other, how they talk, how they resolve conflict, and how they build trust. Sustainable mining is a way of life, no? A philosophy, and a system of values. At the core of sustainable mining in ancestral domains is the right of indigenous cultural communities to free and prior informed consent. As the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, our role is not simply to facilitate. No? It is transformative in nature. We are the bridge that connects investors to indigenous communities, ensuring that this connection is based on respect, genuine partnership, and mutual growth. By the way, we have already passed the revised FPIC guidelines of 2025, and this will now be the subject of our discussion this afternoon with the Office of the President. There is a need for us to recalibrate our existing FPIC guidelines to align it with the agenda of the President. And of course, our 15-year-old FPIC process can no longer answer to the rising issues and concerns of indigenous communities and as well as mining industries. So we have to address. And if you remember, before we promulgated the copy of that administrative order or amendment to the FPIC guidelines, we have the stakeholders conference that we called last year, 2024. And all of your concerns, including the mining industry, were duly considered in the promulgation of that FPIC amendment. And one of the major introductions that were made are, of course, the shortening of period. No? We tried to separate exploration from mining production. So, if you look at our proposal, exploration will only last for 40 days. And you are only required to go direct to the affected communities for the required FPIC. Unlike before, you have to consult all of the ancestral domains. And yet, it is still in the exploration stage. But the old guidelines would treat it as a mining production project. So we ensured that this will be separated from the mining production process so that it will just take only minor process involving simple community consultation processes. I hope that the mining industry will be happy with this. And then we have reduced the number of days, no? Because we are required by the ARTA, the Anti-Red Tape Commission, to reduce timelines. So mining processes for a PIC involving mining projects will take 90 days. And we have written that in our revised FPIC process, which will be the subject of our discussion with the Office of the President this afternoon. I hope that it will help not only the IPs, but the mining industry in moving forward development activities in ancestral domains. We also need development. So the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples is responsible for the administration of the FPIC process. And we would like to ensure that in that process, mining companies would take us as their partners communities, not just recipients of benefits. No? Because there are still mining companies who would treat communities as stakeholders to manage. On the other hand, there is also a need for NCIP to ensure that customary laws and governance systems are respected in all phases of planning and implementation. We should include IPs because they are experts in their own lands. They can contribute a lot in the planning of any kind of mining project. Thirdly, we have also to support the principle of full transparency, not just what the project entails, but also what it means to the future of communities. We have also to ensure that benefits are not short-term payouts, but long-term investments in education, health, environment, livelihood, and community service. Let's acknowledge the critical fact that the remaining frontiers for mineral wealth in the Philippines lie in ancestral domains. Wala na pong minerals in the flatlands. They are exhausted, no? So what does this mean? It means to say that the future of mining industry lie on the ability of the industry to meaningfully and respectfully engage with indigenous communities. Indigenous peoples are not anti-development as many believe, no? Marami po ang nagsasabi that anti-development ang mga IPs. No. They are open to progress, to knowledge, to new technologies, and to responsible investments for as long as the rights are respected, their voices are heard, their decisions are considered, and their lives, lands, and cultures are protected. They will not need to be convinced. They will be the first to offer their lands, not as victims, but as partners with a shared stake in national progress. If we want sustainable mining to be a reality in ancestral domains, we have to reframe our approach. We must see communities not as obstacles, but stakeholders to be considered in the creation of value. The mining industry must ask itself, are we building communities or dismantling them? Are we treating people in the environment with dignity or expendable resources? Are we willing to earn their trust? This was mentioned a while ago. Trust, trust, trust. The role of NCIP is to ensure that no one is left behind, no? In Tagalog, walang iwanan, no? Walang maiiwan. In the pursuit of national development. We believe in mining that protects culture, nurtures the environment, empowers communities, and builds a stronger, inclusive economy. Let us remember, the true legacy of mining is not measured in the tons of copper or gold, but in the lives it transforms and the communities it strengthens. In Lepanto, I witnessed the possibility. And in NCIP, we are committed to making it a standard, not an exemption. Let us work together, government, the mining industry, and communities, so that future generation will say, yes, we mined, but more than that, we built a nation. Thank you, and may we all mine with wisdom, heart and conscience. Maraming salamat po.
Wow, that was a very insightful and positive message that that Attorney Herman conveyed to us. Indeed, if it was based on his personal experience with Lepanto, I would submit that your question earlier, whether there could be sustainable mining, has been answered favorably and positively as well. I like the fact that you mentioned that your community and those that have benefited from the mining company are trade bearers of a legacy of lives transformed and communities that have been strengthened. And I also particularly like the fact that you have announced that you will discuss this afternoon the revised FPIC guidelines and the bifurcation of exploration and mining itself. So, ladies and gentlemen, we now will open the session to our panel discussion. And to join the panel discussion, may I call on the following people to join us on stage. Mr. Luke Bowden, the Country Manager of Metals Exploration PLC, FCF, and Yamang Minerals Corporation. Mr. Jet Tupas, the President and CEO of Jen Luiching Mining Corporation. My pañero, Attorney Noel B. Lazaro, the Senior Vice President for Legal and Regulatory Affairs of Global Ferronickel Holdings FNI, Platinum Group Metals Corporation, and Ipilan Nickel Corporation. And finally, we will have Ms. Emelita, she has not been able to come. She would have spoken on behalf of Apex Mining. We'd like to ask our panelists to please share with us your experiences in respect of your mining projects and your relationship with indigenous peoples in your particular mining area. We'd like to start with Attorney Lazaro, if you can. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. Special good morning to our guest speaker, Ado Art. I call him Ado Art. We've been together for a long time because of our project in Palawan. Okay. If I'm being very honest, if you ask me about our experience with IP and the NCIP, it's something like if we call FPIC as the bedrock of our relationship with the IPs, our experience has actually been hard as a rock. I'd like to talk about our Palawan project because we have two mines, the Surigao mine and the Palawan mine. Palawan mine has been quite a challenge for all of us, but as they say, all's well that ends well. Everything's settled now except the market because we have no control of that. But over those things we have control of, Palawan has been quite a success story for all of us. And it's a narrative that definitely involved not just the IPs, but the NCIP. Historically, our position was that we did not have to go through the FPIC process because our MPSA was granted in 1993. That's predated the IPRA, or the IPRA, which was enacted and passed in 1997. So our hard rock stance was that we did not have to go through the FPIC process because the IPRA, under, if I'm not mistaken, Section 56, recognizes that vested rights or those concessions or projects that have already acquired certain property rights do not have to go through the FPIC process. So that was our consistent stance. In fact, we've written the NCIP about that, that we are interested into getting the FPIC of the IPs as well, but that we wanted to get their opinion. In return, the NCIP at that time in 2006, from the former, I think, from the predecessor of Director Art, gave us a letter saying that, no, you don't have to go through the FPIC process because you are exempt. So that was the story then. But then because of that, problems arose. Okay? the IPs did not agree with that. So we were not having a good time with them. So as you know, when you are up against the IPs, in that kind of situation, projects and the programs cannot move very easily. So what we did was enter into a negotiation. We went through the process, 2006, 2007, 2008. But then another problem arose. While we signed already the MOA with the IPs, for some reason, the MOA itself got lost. And it wasn't signed by the NCIP. Sorry, Director Art, but he wasn't there yet. I wasn't there yet either. And so came 2022, when we were about already to embark on the development process, we could not find a signed MOA by the NCIP, although we had a MOA with the IPs. So as you know, it's always a tripartite agreement. You cannot have a complete FPIC process without the signature of the NCIP because you need to have a certification precondition. So we started all over again. 2022, with all the very tedious processes. And for 3 years, luckily last year in 2024, we got our certification precondition. But still, without so many hurdles. In between 2022 and 2024, we had issues with the IPs because they wanted to put pressures against the company. They filed a writ of kalikasan, a petition for a writ of kalikasan with the Supreme Court, not only against the company, but against the DNR, the MGB, for various reasons. Okay, one of which is the lack of certification precondition. Of course, that was the legal issue. So our story is one where the legal issue can actually dovetail with the rights of the indigenous community and the ethical dimension of our operation. If you were to strictly follow the law only in the normative course of relationship, that will not be enough for us project proponents because problems will always arise. So finally, despite that exemption that we had, we went through the FPIC process. And of course, it's a welcome development that Director Art informed us that the FPIC guidelines had already been passed, refined, and we hope made even more efficient now. Because we were following then the 2006 guidelines and the 2012 guidelines. We are lucky to be part of that 2025 guidelines. When the NCIP asked for our comments, we submitted our comments. I definitely have a list of my expectations about the guidelines now because we need to really improve the guidelines so that projects and the IPs are protected. So that's about it. That's our experience. And hopefully our experience will not be relieved by people here in the room because we now have a very dynamic set of NCIP commissioners and our ADO director, plus the new guidelines now passed by the commission.
Thank you, Noel, for that very positive message as well. Before we ask Attorney Herman to comment, we'd like to welcome Ms. Emelita C. Fabro, the Vice President for Administration of Apex Mining Company, to join and ask her to join us here. Please. So, Director, with that message of Attorney Lazaro, I wonder if you would like to react to it and give us the viewpoint of the NCIP in respect of the experience of Attorney Lazaro's company.
Well, taking a look at our record in NCIP, we have not seen a mining project that was objected or permanently rejected by communities. Well, there are mining projects that were initially rejected, but later on during the filing of a motion for reconsideration. There was this renegotiation, adjustment of the interest of both parties, and they agreed. So we have zero record on any mining company that has that was rejected by any community in the Philippines. So my advice is, of course, you have to comply with the requirement of the free and prior informed consent as required by law. No? This will establish and trigger longer relationship between the mining company and the host communities. Because there are areas that would try to subvert the requirement, and then later on, this has caused or triggered the communities to fight back, causing delays in the implementation of the project. So I really believe that your company complied really with the free and prior informed consent, and I hope that with the result of that FPIC, you were able to find it as some sort of cause of stability in your relationship with the communities. So I encourage mining companies to comply. Wala naman akong nakikitang nare-reject, no? For as long as you have the right negotiation, for as long as you have that understanding, you have that feeling of what we call this in Tagalog, malasakit, no? You have to involve the IPs in the formulation of your plans and policies, and that's it. There is no need for you to ask for consent, really. For as long as you involve them, you make them feel that they are part of the project and everything goes well. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Herman, for that very encouraging message and in reaction to Attorney Lazaro's experience. We'd like to proceed now with the experience of Yamang Mineral Corporation, a company associated with FCF Minerals, and with Luke Bowden here to represent it. Luke, your experience, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to really appreciate the fact that we've been invited to talk today, and special thanks to and hello to the distinguished guests. So just in terms of my experience, I've been operating in Australia for about 20 years, and I've gone all around Australia working with Indigenous communities under what we call the Native Title Act. I've been in the Philippines for about 2 years. Mainly, I'm on the development side of things, so I'm trying to get new projects going, and the projects I've been working on are in Abra and Kalinga. I believe it is absolutely critical to get the balance right between a healthy mining industry and protecting, uplifting and respecting the Indigenous people, and ensuring that we protect the environmental stewardship of the ancestral domains. You talk about sustainability in mining. This is the key point of sustainability mining, to get that balance right between the Indigenous people and the mining industry. I truly believe there's right now an intent to do that, but I think there's still some issues that we need to work through. And I'd just like to mention a couple of those issues today if I can. Firstly, it's an issue for the mining industry. My experience, and I'm talking about developing a project, not operating a project. My experience about developing a project is when you get on the ground with the Indigenous communities and the church to a certain degree, the reality is the mining industry has quite a poor image, and that's probably through some of the reputational issues historically that the Filipino mining industry has done. So when you go to a new community and you want to start building relationships with the Indigenous people and building partnerships, when the perception straight away is they have a negative perception on mining, it's a very hard base to start negotiations. So we're always on the back foot. Now, why? like I said, I think reputationally, from my understanding, there has been some poor environmental stewardship. There's been some tailings dams issues. But one of the key things that I do see is you go into these communities and there's a lot of illegal small-scale mining going on. And you have a look at the practices involved in that. There's a lot of environmental degradation. There's pollution, there's mercury, there's cyanide. And, you know, looking after the health and safety of the workers, there's a lot of issues out there. There's a lot of, you know, incidents and even fatalities. So some of these communities, that's what they see mining is. They've never seen what good looks like. When a proper, well-funded mining company comes in and does it properly. So once again, there's a negative perception there that we have to look at. So the second issue I think we need to get better at, and Attorney Herman has pointed it out, and I know our CEO, President, spoke about it last Mining Club, is the fact that when you go into the communities through the FPIC process, they don't understand the separation between exploration and mining. So like I said, they have generally a negative perception about mining. And when you go and try to go through an FPIC process, because there's no separation in the certificate of precondition process, it's extremely hard to negotiate a mower and try to convince people that exploration has very, very minimal environmental impact. It has a lot of benefits. And the reality is, exploration projects, especially greenfield exploration projects, 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 maybe, exploration projects actually turn into a mining venture. So the risk, the financial risk is 100% with the company, where you're investing money in a high-risk project that something may never happen, but the Indigenous perception is you're going to come in and mine and cause this environmental damage to my areas. So once again, there's an issue there that we need to get through, and I'm really glad and heartened to see that the NCIP has moved to change the guidelines so we can start educating the Indigenous community on the difference between exploration and production. That I think that will really, really help the industry. Exploration is the foundation of mining. Everyone knows that. Without exploration, the mining industry here will wither away and die, and it hasn't been it hasn't been strong. I could imagine, Joey could probably help me out, new greenfield exploration projects in the Philippines, you probably count on your hands. In Australia, there's thousands. So, you know, we need to get this right and get this balance right so people understand exploration is very, very minimal impact, and it actually it's the strong community benefits to go with minimal environmental impact. And probably the last issue that I've encountered is, I suppose you can call it land banking to a degree. There's mining companies out there that go into these communities. They go through this process, FPIC process, they get their certificate of precondition, and they promise a lot. I've been to one community up north where the CP has been sitting there for 15 years. Exploration permit has been sitting there for 15 years. And the community's been promised bridges, roads, scholarships. Not 1 cent has been spent in 15 years because the operator has no intentions, or these people have no intention of developing the mine. It's land banking, it's a real estate deal. So once again, the Indigenous people, when we go in there and say, yes, we're going to do these things, their perception is, well, no, you don't. We got promised this before and it doesn't happen. That's happened in about 3 areas I've been to. So that's another issue I think we need to fix for the mining industry. So all these these key 3 issues that I've just discussed, they all have solutions. We just got to get our heads together and put solutions in place. And the second issue, I'm glad the NCIP has redid the guidelines. So I think that's really going to be helpful for the mining industry. So thank you.
Thank you, Luke, for that very frank and foreign perspective. And perhaps in reaction to that, Director, how often would you encounter dealings with foreign companies, and how open is the NCIP and the IPs to getting the perspective of foreign companies who have had their own experiences with IPs in other countries like Australia and Canada, for instance? Can we gain something from their experience that would alleviate or ease the process in the Philippines itself?
We continuously engage experts and other entities coming from other countries. In fact, last month, we have this engagement with the Canadian Embassy, including a representative from the First Nations of Canada. We have this workshop and seminar in Tagaytay, trying to teach indigenous peoples in the Philippines on how to negotiate with mining companies and as well as how to manage efficiently their royalties that they receive from mining industries. So with this, we try to seek other experts or representatives from tribal groups in other countries to share with us their experiences and for us also to share our experiences in the Philippines. Well, as far as indigenous peoples in the Philippines are concerned, we are still young in terms of financial literacy. So there is a need for us to continuously work out with other experts coming from other areas. In the other issues that we mentioned a while ago, well, I hope that the FPIC process, the calibrated FPIC process will now address the concerns that you raised. As I have said a while ago, with respect to exploration projects, we already separated that from the treatment that they should be treated as a full-scale mining projects. And therefore, the only necessary requirement that you will have to undergo is to directly negotiate with the affected areas, not the entire ancestral domain, but the affected areas. So, for example, there are 2 local units that are affected by your project. You can go directly with them and negotiate for your agreements, no? It's not like before that you have to call all the members of the IP groups and have this very rigid process of negotiating with them. I hope that the process will address all of the issues that you have raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Director, for that very encouraging message. And as you probably know, the MGB and the DNR has also issued their own streamlining process, and they acknowledge the fact that now when EPs or exploration permit applications are submitted, the processing will be in parallel with the FPIC process, except that, of course, you still need that certification precondition before you can actually embark on your development activities, even if the EP has already been approved. So I do hope that after this afternoon's meeting with the Office of the President, Director, your calibrated FPIC guidelines would indeed be issued already. So we move on to another perspective, and this is from Mr. Jet Tupas, the President and CEO of Gen Luiching Mining Company. Jet and I were together in Australia for the mining mission, sponsored by the Australian Trade Commission. And I thought it was a Chinese company, Gen Luiching, but I was happy to note that we have a Filipino owning it and leading it. Jet, your perspective, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney. Good morning, everyone. So just I share my experience about mining. We just our mining area is in Mindanao, but it's a part of exploration stage. Before we enter to the community like the IPs, we should have a complete permit like director said. So we comply everything what we have, but sometimes we cannot the situation with the area because we are first on that area when we deploy the exploration program, we should bring our people, machineries. We encounter some problem like the people living on that area. But supposed to be just because of the situation, I prioritize the situation in the community, like the road, because they're going bringing their product to very hard the situation of the road. That's why I prioritize the road to make the community comfortable with the mining. So that's why, but we cannot encounter like there are some people that don't like mining, so they are blocking the machineries, the people, and then they are treating the security. So that's the part of the problem inside the mining claim. But supposed to be we do that to cushion everything what we have. We treat the people as higher than us because we are. This is a part of our relation within the IPs. So that's why until now, until the present, we are still doing the exploration, and then we comply the compliance of the 10% part of the exploration work program to make the community happy. The indigenous people, we give them the computer, everything. So that's time they are giving a relation to mining that they're comfortable also with us.
Thank you, Jet. Director, Jet raised the issue of opposition, no? Of certain groups. There have been experiences of other mining companies where those that are not really indigenous peoples, but are espousing possibly a different agenda or a political issue, are the stronger voice in the community. And what would your advice be to a mining company that would encounter a similar situation where the real issues do not come from indigenous communities but from other non-indigenous people?
Yes, we have lots of this problem in Mindanao areas, many non-indigenous communities or non-indigenous peoples trying to misrepresent IP groups, especially in the negotiation of royalties. So the best thing that you will have to do there is to work out with the FPIC team, so that because they are the body that is responsible for determining the real participants in that process. So remember that in our process there is this what we call as field-based investigation, which the purpose of this field-based investigation is to determine the actual or real representatives of IPs. So from that, you are even part of the FBI process, and you can also participate in opposing the participation of non-indigenous peoples in the proceedings or in the process. I think this is the only way. And anyway, if you are not able to do that, maybe you can just write the central office so that we can issue a memorandum directing this FBI or FPIC team to explain that why they have included non-IP or migrant IPs in the exercise of this process, because exclusively this should only pertain to the ancestral domain owners.
Thank you for that advice. Yep. Noel, please react to it.
Dig, here's something I just actually shared with Mr. Luke here. There's a case actually that reached the Supreme Court. The title is FCF versus Lunag, where a supposedly indigenous peoples group actually filed a case against FCF. But it turned out, of course, with a formidable defense put up by FCF, it was revealed that this group These groups were actually small-scale miners pretending to be IP groups. But the courts saw in their positions that the complainants or the petitioners were not actually IP groups, but groups with vested interests out to claim something from the mining company. Okay. The funny thing there is that FCF turned the table and filed a counterclaim for damages against these groups. Okay. But unfortunately, the Supreme Court, writing through Justice Leonen, or our professors, Dika and I, said that...
My classmate.
Your classmate, oh, I'm sorry. Said that mining companies don't have a right to institute or file a SLAP case. A SLAP is a protection against a group where you are being harassed by another group for fighting for the environment. Justice Leonen said mining companies don't have a right in that context because he said, and I disagree with him, he said that mining companies are not engaged in the protection, preservation, and rehabilitation of the land. So something that might be contrary to our general notion or our main activities under the Mining Act. So therefore, the Supreme Court said the mining companies cannot claim damages, actual damages, or exemplary damages against these groups, no matter the futility or the baselessness of the claims of these small-scale miners. So
Thank you,
that's the side
Noel.
story there.
Yeah, thank you. Incidentally, the formidable defense team was led by my Fortun Narvasa and Salazar law office.
Very good, congratulations.
So we won on one point and lost on another. Anyway, that's how life goes, right?
Thanks for the tidbits of information.
True. Yeah. But incidentally also, the Supreme Court has recently issued and written by Justice Leonen a decision that says that local government units cannot issue ordinances completely banning mining in their respective provinces or cities because it goes against the national law, which is the Mining Act. No?
Written by your classmate.
Written by my classmate, Justice Leonen. So may we now proceed to the insights and sharing of Ms. Emelita C. Fabro, the Vice President for Administration of Apex Mining Company, a very successful Filipino-owned mining company.
Thank you very much, sir. Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy and honored, of course, to be part of this discussion on indigenous peoples and mining companies' drive for development and sustainability. I think Apex Mining is one of the very few lucky gold mining companies who never had that kind of a big challenge when it comes to entering the mining area. We got our memorandum of agreement signed in June 16 of 2004, and we're already now in the process of renewing the said MOA. I promise you it was not really very easy at all before. There's always the chance that, there's always distrust by the IPs to those people who were talking to them. But we were not that easy to give up. We courted them. We did IEC morning, afternoon, and evening. We tried to choose the right people who knows what cultural sensitivity is. We were very honest. We were very transparent. And finally, after years of hard work, we were able to get the MOA. Now, was it an easy task then? After that, it was still kind of very challenging because you're dealing with IPs who have very limited knowledge of the mining operation, of how a mining company should run and should properly run, and what's their part in the total development goals of the company. But we still persisted. Apex Mining Company at that time was a very small company. It was even less than 500 tons per day. And with the price of gold, less than 1,000 pesos per ounce. It was very small. And it came from, like, we had a lot of loans and debts that we had to pay. We explained those to them. And we told them that, this is the point wherein we still cannot pay you with your royalties and your surface rights. Please understand us. And they agreed. They really agreed. But if they will have some projects, my deal with them, with the IPs is, if you have some projects, let us know. We will help you. I will find the right person on the ground to help you with your project proposal. And I will ensure that our resident manager, or even the president of the company, understands that project. It was still very difficult then, because for them, it's only the money that should come in. Over time, and even until now, I'm very happy to note that our IPs are actually, they own houses that's been converted into boarding houses. They own gasoline station. They own inland resorts. They're not dependent on the mining operation to do business. They bought lands for agriculture, coconut farm, and everything. So they are trying to divest their money into other ventures. And that is with the help of the company, our community relations, and with a successful partnership with NCIP. None of this is going to really would materialize if it were not for the intervention of NCIP. Okay? We have 66, they have actually 66 graduates, university graduates, and 11 are enrolled still in the university. And these graduates are the ones now who are in the negotiating panel. Have they forgotten that their IPs? No. But at least they can talk, we can talk to them openly. They're lawyers, they're teachers, they're office workers, they're government workers. One of our IP won even in the election as one of the councilor of the municipality of Mako. So they've progressed. The company's progressed, the company developed, and they too have progressed. Okay. It was not easy, I promise you, and it's not a perfect relationship. Now, let's go to the challenges. One of the challenges that we're facing in right now is when there's an emergence of small groups within the IPs and they would want to be recognized and they would send us a letter to stop the royalty and the surface rights download, what would you do? What we did? We talked to the NCIP. First, I talked to the person. Sir, Datu, I'm sorry, but it's only the NCIP who will be able to tell us to stop the royalty and the surface rights download. Without that word from them, without that black and white, we cannot do so. So we forward that letter to our NCIP in Region 11, and they're the ones who are trying to sort out. We know when to talk to them. We know when to talk to the NCIP. But this is a long-standing partnership that does not stop when the exploration starts or when it stops. It is an ongoing process. It is not easy. You always have to be up on your toes. You cannot rest on your laurels. You cannot do that because this is an ongoing process. And, one mistake, one bad word, one bad decision can really destroy the relationship. And we do not want to destroy our relationship. We have another project right now, which is the Asia Alliance. It's a 19,000 hectares project. We got it from PMDC. We've already finished the field-based investigation, and the NCIP has been very instrumental into pushing this project to where it is right now. We still have not started a lot of our exploration. So even if our footing was already there, we still abide by the process of the FPIC. Transparency, respect, and maintenance of dignity of both parties is the key to this. I promise you, it's not a walk in the park. It is always very challenging. But with the price of gold and with the price of the minerals, the times are very exciting, really. So I hope you will all have the kind of experience that we have. And even if you get that, we should be very careful at how we manage our relationship with the IPs, not only with the IPs, even with the stakeholders. Because the LGU also plays a very crucial part in the relationship of the IPs and the company. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Fabro. That's a very rich experience of Apex and lives true to the words that you mentioned a while ago, Director, on the partnership, the respect for the culture of the IPs. Would you like to add anything to the experience of Apex, Director?
Well, that is a concrete example of sustainable mining. No? Patience. Well, of course, our indigenous communities are not like people in the mining industry. No? They don't even know the concept of mining. So there is a need for us to extend our understanding, extend patience. Let us try to work together to empower them so that we can have a better negotiation in engagement. Otherwise, if we just treat them as a commodity or illiterate people that are just in the sidelines receiving this passive kind of income, then is this what sustainable mining is? And that is a concrete example of what really is sustainable mining. Thank you. By the way, on the other hand, part of the process that we proposed in the revised guidelines is the renewal of mining projects, where if it is renewal, there is no more need for you to undergo the earlier process of FBI. You just go and proceed with consultations with the affected areas and negotiate immediately with the MOA or a renewal of that memorandum of agreement. Unlike before, you have to go to step 1 up to the end, but now no more. We have to slash bulk of that process that is useless, and it will be for the benefit of the IPs and as well as their partner investors. Thank you.
Thank you again, Director, for that, again, a very significant development in the process. No? At this point, we'd like to open the floor to a couple of questions because I think the Director has to go to Malacanang already. So please mention your name and state your question as well. None. Everyone must be hungry at this point. That's part of the FPIC process. Treating everyone to a budol fight, or what do you call that in the North, Director? So we'd like to thank our panelists, Attorney Lazaro, Mr. Bowden, Mr. Tupas, and Ms. Fabro. And of course, the Director for a very rich sharing of his insights, experiences, and the positive developments in the area of the FPIC. Ladies and gentlemen, may I ask everyone to please give a big round of applause to everyone on stage. Thank you so much.
Diversity assessments with the use of the DNA. No? DNA. So we're active on that one, and yeah, let's start. So overview of GHG emissions. Are we familiar with the emissions that you contribute to the environment? Have you accounted it already? Sino pong nag-account na? Among zero. I suppose, no? Most of the mining companies, it's part already of your compliance for DAO 2025-10. Okay? It's the latest DAO of DNR that was issued early this year. I guess it's early this year. Focusing on UN SDGs and integrating it with your social development plans. Right? Now, We're going to focus on SDG number 13, which is climate action. Now, why do you need to report your emissions, your GHG emissions? Number one, you have DAO 2025-10 legislation. Investors, perhaps your customers would require you, okay, to report your emissions to them. Customers' pressure and risk management. Now, you have options, no, in GHG accounting and reporting. So it depends on the cities and countries. Here in the Philippines, it's not yet fully implemented. And however, with several laws right now in the Philippines, no, with our regulatory bodies, with DNR, slowly it's being introduced to the different stakeholders, no, not just in the mining segment, but includes also the rest, no. Right now, before you start with construction of any infrastructure in the Philippines, they monitor, no, how much would be the impact on the carbon emissions, no, whenever we do a certain project, okay? Even on the food segment. The food segment right now, they're into doing carbon accounting, okay? So SGS does both, no, carbon accounting and verification, but we can do either only. In the Philippines, in 2021, there's a guide already on carbon accounting and verification, no, with the CAVS system. I don't know if anyone here is familiar of CAVS, or was it introduced to your companies, no? Since 2021, during the time of Secretary Simato, it was introduced, but basically focusing on the carbon sequestration, no, part of the accounting, okay? Because as we all know, we have our rehabilitated areas, and MGB right now is slowly implementing carbon sequestration amongst our tenements, no, in different locations. Okay, so how do we do carbon accounting, or how is it? It depends on the entity and project accounting. So you have entity accounting reductions based on your operations, and baseline emissions or project emissions when you do explorations. Okay? During the start of your exploration, you can already account for the total carbon, no, given on the baseline or the base year up to a certain period. Okay? Leading towards your operations. Okay? So the standard and methodologies of accounting and reporting, we base it from ISO 14064 or the GHG protocol. Now, when you set operational boundaries, because you have two major approaches when you do carbon accounting, it can be financial or operational. When you say operational, that means to say 100%, for example, you are operating your business. When you do financial, say for example, you have a partner, okay? So if you want to report your GHG emissions, it may be only 50%, depending on your share, okay, in the company. So there are two approaches that you can do to count your carbon emissions. Currently, in the Philippines, carbon accounting, the required is you go through scopes 1 and 2. You have direct emissions and indirect emissions. So later on, I'll discuss how to determine what are direct and indirect emissions. Scope 3, this is usually required by your suppliers, and it involves a process of like determining the emissions of your supply chain, transportation, business travels, etc. Okay? Pero mostly, when you want to start with carbon accounting, we can start with scopes 1 and 2. Okay? Scopes 1 and 2. And then 3 could come later on as you complete all the documents that you have. Now, scope 3 emissions, all other indirect emissions, so transport from vehicles, no, including GHG inventory, again, it's an option, no, when you want to proceed with scope 3. Actually, before conducting carbon accounting, no, usually companies like SGS would ask first the proponents whether you would like to proceed it up to scope 3 or just we'll just do the accounting for scopes 1 and 2. Okay? Okay, accounting for emissions from biomass. So this is carbon sequestration. This is what you are currently doing, right? Have we started with carbon sequestration already dun sa declared rehabilitated areas natin or rehabilitation areas? Raise, can I see some hands? Have you started? Actually, MGB right now, the different regional offices of MGB are, recommending that you start already with carbon sequestration. I'll show you how later, no? Because you can use the sequestered carbon there. Say, for example, the total computed sequestered carbon is 350,000 tons or 300,000 tons. You can use that as an offset to your emissions. Kasi it's yours eh. It's your declared rehabilitation area. So it can be an offset to your total carbon that are being accounted. Okay? Kasi it's yours. Now, we do carbon sequestration in two ways. You get the biomass, no? Biomass, upper biomass, and lower biomass. The, what you call this? The bigger, no? The rehabilitated, the declared rehabilitation area is, or say for example, what you call this? The older the trees, or you have an inventory of the trees already in the area, the more carbon can be accounted for, no? That is being sequestered. Okay? We have conducted carbon sequestration. I'll cite an example, no? There's this company wherein we conducted carbon sequestration and then leading towards carbon accounting. So, the total computed sequestered carbon for that specific location that they have identified is 350,000 tons a year. Wow. They can use that to offset whatever emissions they have in their operations already. Okay? So currently, we are in the final stages of computing the total carbon emissions or reductions, no? Within a baseline of 5 years in their operations. Okay? Another thing also, I know, aside from, the rehabilitation areas, you have the forest, no? You also have mangroves, right? You're supporting mangrove, forests or systems, no, in your areas. Do you know that the total carbon that can be sequestered by mangroves is times 10 to times 20, no, of that in a regular area? Okay, so you should include that as well when you do carbon sequestration. The carbon being sequestered in mangroves are called blue carbon. Okay, these are precious carbon. And in the future, when you have your accounting and then later on verified, you can put that in a carbon inventory that you can sell in the market. For those who want to have offsetting, okay, especially from different countries. This is big already, carbon credits, big already in Europe, no, in the US. And there are different companies who have established their sustainability programs already that, go to different countries to buy carbon credits. So as I mentioned a while back, when we do carbon accounting, okay, it comes in two ways. We have the financial control and operational control. Okay, so that's the approach. Say, for example, one company, you have a mother company, and then you have two factories. Okay? When you do financial control approach, say factory B is owned by another entity, okay, but you are the one operating it, you cannot declare the carbon there. Okay? You cannot declare the total carbon computed there. But if you own the company and the financial aspect is being run basically by the mother company, all the counted carbon reductions in that matter will be accounted for you. It's a different case for operational control, or same with operational control. It's authority to introduce and implement operating policies to determine, consider ownership of the operating permit. Okay? So it counts for 100% emissions from each operation under operational control. That's why before proceeding, for us to be familiarized with carbon accounting, you need to know and determine what is the approach that you want, third-party auditors would like to compute, to account for on your carbon emissions. We can go on the financial approach way or the operational approach way. Okay? Baseline. As I mentioned a while back, you can start your baseline even during the exploration stage. And then assume later on, how much would be the emissions or the reductions along the way. Okay? So you need to establish also the base year accordingly. It will be coming from you. You'll just dictate, you just inform the auditors, us, the auditors, on how to appreciate or compute the data that you have. Okay? So identifying and calculating emissions. So under Scope 1, these are some examples that you may consider. So Scope 1, these are direct emissions, consumption of fuel, raw material, gasoline, refrigerant. Now, we consider also, remember you have your quarterly ambient air monitoring, right? For processing, you have your source emissions, testing, quarterly, depending on your PTO. Those data are also considered, and the emissions can be computed from there also. Okay? So aside from the diesel, the raw materials, gasoline, etc. Scope 2, energy indirect GHG emissions. Basically, this is focused on the electric bills. If you have lesser consumption, say you have implemented some renewables in your facilities. You have solar panels, what else? You use some, what you call this? Batteries, in your operations, mga equipments, machineries, for example. Okay, so the lowering of the electric bills is considered as part of the reductions of your emissions. Okay, and then Scope 3, this could include waste disposal, transportation, and again outsource outsource operations including transportation, supply chain, etc. Okay. So emission factors, it's presented in units, kilograms of carbon dioxide in air, kilometer traveled, per kilowatt hour of electricity, or liter of petrol and gasoline. Okay? Now, I really believe in sustainable mining. Okay? So whenever we go to our clients, whenever we go to the different tenements nationwide, we inform our clients, we give guide, us rather than selling, but we provide services on consultancies with their operations. So what is sustainable mining? Okay, taking care of the environment, taking care of the people in your environment. As we have listened this morning with the director, and also taking care of the basics, water and air. Okay, and remember, your emissions count. Okay, in saving the earth. That's why you need to start the accounting now, You need to start with programs on how to lower down basically your emissions. Now, lastly, I would like to cite, Vera, are you familiar with Vera? The Vera protocol, Vera credits, no? They're the gold standard in the carbon credits. So they have accredited SGS to be their partner, no? So SGS is the accredited auditors now of Vera credits. So they're the largest in the globally. Now, if you're vying for Vera, how we do it as auditors, we use the Vera protocol. However, SGS, we also have our protocol for GHG, verification, okay? And we do services also for GHG, carbon accounting and for carbon sequestration, okay? So let us help each other, and we hope that SGS could help you also, lower down or like monitor your carbon emissions and eventually convert it into something big that you can help to your communities. Okay? So again, our journey to the successful zone is with SGS and MDAX. Those are my contact details. And if you want to know more about GHG accounting, carbon sequestration, or carbon accounting, let us know, and we'll entertain some questions later on. Thank you.
So thank you for the introduction, and welcome on my behalf to everybody. Just an opening comment while this slide is up. One of the things we see in Konecranes, we see a lot of tenders and requests for quotations come across our table, hundreds and hundreds per month. And one of the things we see is that they're quite rigid specifications, and some of the technical data is quite dated. And I feel we are losing a lot of opportunity to put safety, productivity, and sustainability improvements into some of the customers' operations with these dated specifications. So, this is something I try to talk about with our customers all the time when I see some of these tenders. Konecranes, we are really, really strict on the safety management. All of the countries have a safety head. Everybody is expected to do observations. So we all have an app on our telephone. If we see, a safety improvement observation, we document it. If we also see some good practices, we document that observation. And we're using that data then to basically make improvements in our customers' operations and our own operations. Just quickly with our values, putting customers first, doing the right thing, driving for better, and winning together. We expect this type of culture in our organisation daily. Our history, we started already in the 1910s at a motor rewinding factory, and then we were starting to make our first equipment in the 1930s. And then in the 1960s, we introduced our service strategy, which was quite a pioneering strategy in our industry at the time. And then in 2017, we actually acquired the DMAG brand. So the DMAG brand is a Konecranes company. Today, we're operating with our own subsidiaries in 50 countries. And we have 16,700 employees around the world globally today. When we look at this sustainability discussions that we were just having, Konecranes, we have this EcoVadis certification or ratings, and we have had gold for the last 4 years. And this year we just achieved a rating where we're in the top 5% of companies that are managing the sustainability, and this is actually regarded as a leader in that sustainability management. The customer offering, we have 3 operations. We have industrial service, industrial equipment, and then we have port equipment. But, sorry, what happened then? Yeah, so today we have 4,500 technicians working around the globe, and in 50 countries. And I'll talk a little bit more about this connected equipment, but we have 17,000 pieces of equipment out in the field that is now connected to our ecosystem or our industrial internet. Our industrial equipment, we are operating as a frontline organisation with the Konecranes brand, and then we also have these indirect brands which we call the distribution business, who are working with other crane builders around the world. And then we have from the manual lifting equipment, the chain hoist up to the heavy duty industrial cranes. Our port equipment, it's quite specialised in container handling operations of the ports, but we also have heavy duty lift trucks that are working in quite a lot of different segments. And as an example, we're about to deliver 2 big mobile harbour cranes in Cebu here in the Philippines, which is happening at the moment. One big project to be delivered. All of the motors, gearbox and drives, they are all made by Konecranes, and this creates efficiency in how the equipment is being used. So we call it the core of lifting. It's the heart of the crane, and it's all coming out of our own facilities and our own designs. So we're not using third-party motors or controls in those in that package. What we have today is a lot of safety and productivity, which what we call with our smart features. I've put a square around this sway control just to give an example. We had a customer quite a few years ago that had a look at this sway control, how it was working, and he basically come back and placed an order and asked us to include that sway control. And what he was telling us that load sway and how our loads, how the sway control stopped that load swinging, he said he would have stopped the fatality at his facility in the US at the time. And what he said was, you could not imagine how hard it was to go and ring that man's wife that night and tell her that her husband had been killed in an accident in his operation. So the way he looked at it, that technology would have stopped that accident happening. So that's an example when we talk about safety improvements with these type of products. Then we also have our digital systems. I got that highlighted in the square on the far right, and I'll show a little bit more about that. But basically we have an ecosystem where we are monitoring that equipment, and we're giving you live data, and you know what's going on with your equipment at all times, and I'll show that shortly. I won't read this slide, it's quite busy, but the idea is you can see already that we're moving from basic to advanced products, and as we go forward from advanced to integrated solutions, and a lot of this technology and a lot of this is already being delivered in some applications. So, you know, it's there, it works, and it's getting, more and more customers expect it, is probably what I would say. So what we have today, what's evolving, we have these smart features that I was just talking about: safety, reliability, ease of use, efficiency. We have the smart products. Then we have smart service, which is transparency, speed, digitalization. And then what we are doing is predictive maintenance, where we have tools now that are analyzing the lifetime of the equipment. And you might say, your service manual says this coupling must be changed after 5 years. So what our systems are doing now is saying that this coupling is ready to change. And you'll get that type of information out of our predictive maintenance tools. When I talk about this ecosystem, so we have sensors on all of the equipment. That is going to a dedicated, secured Konecranes data cloud. Our service organisation is using digital tools, which is also feeding off that information from the crane. Asset operation, maintenance, remote monitoring is happening. And then we have our R&D is also working with this data so we can make improvements in our equipment and how we can help our customers. So this is basically, I've got a lot of different types of scenarios. You can have some very basic digital capabilities, or you can have some quite comprehensive data. But what's happening is the customer gets access to a portal we call Your Konecranes, and all of the data on your equipment is live. You can see it on the portal at any time, know where you spent your money, know where the breakdowns are, what cranes, and it just helps you analyse the future and, you know, put the right type of maintenance in, plan repairs before you have breakdowns and downtime, etc. This ecosystem, we have the certification, you know, for the data, so the cyber security, etc. It's all certified, how we manage that and protect it. And just a couple of quick slides of just the different types of applications that we have done in mining. You know, you have the SAG mills, you have the crushers, you have the process plants. You have the drag lines, you know, the maintenance cranes in the back, that as an example. All the different types of process applications. Different types of specifications, stainless steel IP65 panels, because of the dusty environments. We have, you know, the ship unloaders in the ports operations, different types of jib cranes, but it's just covering all the different applications. Sino Iron in Western Australia, we have the big lift trucks that are container handling or as an example, changing the tyres on the big dump trucks, etc. Another grab unloader, the different types of services. And this is probably the biggest project we have ongoing right at the moment. This is the KCGM growth project in Western Australia. We're putting about a dozen cranes into that project at the moment. So that was my quick 15 minutes. I hope I'm on time, just to give you an overview of what we're doing at least. So thank you.
Thank you. Perhaps the first question to you, Randall, is what specific challenges and opportunities are there in implementing carbon accounting in the mining sector?
Okay. So, challenges. I think the challenges is really information dissemination on what carbon accounting is. That's why the MGB in different regional offices, they started already, you know, relating to everyone. To start with carbon sequestration. Okay, that's the quickest way to account for whatever carbon that may be a reserve, no, in your tenements. Next, moving forward, collection of data. Okay, us auditors would check, we'll do our accounting based on the available data that you have. Okay, you have your regular quarterly MMTs, right? You do air monitoring. You have your source emissions. You do have your fuel consumption for all the equipment that are there in your tenements. But have we collect it regularly, do some analysis on the growth, for example, of the usage of fuel or the reduction in fuel? You have your electricity bill every time. Yeah, I know. I believe in all mining companies, you have your ESCO, right? You have your energy managers. It's also a requirement of the Philippine government in energy reduction. However, does your energy manager, account for reduction on energy usage? Have you started with the use of renewables, like implementing solar energy in your different facilities? So those are the things, those are the challenges. And at the same time, are opportunities for us. Okay? Are opportunities for us, for all of us in the industry, in the mining segment. Because basically, for all we know, you have this much carbon being sequestered that you can offset with your operations. You just need to know on how to do it, how to implement it. And you need to start with your available data. Because we don't account for, as auditors, we will not account for whatever's declared that are not valid documents. We will account for carbon reductions based on the available documents that you have. And let's start with the identification using scopes 1 and 2. Okay? And then scope 3 can follow soon. However, for the mining industry, scope 3 is a factor that is really needed. So I can say, Attorney, those are the challenges. At the same time, opportunities, no? For us to comply, okay? Another thing also with the Dow 2025-10 that had been rolled out already by the MJB, DNR MJB, to all of us, no, stakeholders. This is a very good, department order in order for us to ensure, that we are aligned with the Philippine government in, complying with our alignment to the US and the SDGs. And do you know, in 2024, okay, with regards to the compliance index amongst the 17 UN SDGs, climate change, number 13, has the lowest index rate at only negative 3.8%, And we can do our share being one of the major industry here in the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you, Randall. So it's, to a big extent, it's really dependent also on what the mining companies have to contribute, right? Yeah. Okay. Let me shift to you, Steve. One of the challenges of mining companies in the Philippines is equipment downtime, no? And I was wondering what services or what equipment would your company have to offer to Philippine mining companies?
I think one of the problems I see with a lot of downtime and breakdowns out there in the industry is the wrong equipment has been purchased. And, that there's commercial decisions made, of course, with customers. I understand that. But there's also the right specification and the right type of products need to be purchased to operate in the different environments. And I see a lot of the issues that customers have with downtime is just purely the wrong equipment is on the site. And if the right equipment is on the site, there seems to be a lack of, attention to maintenance. The maintenance of a crane is just like the maintenance on your car. There's brakes, there's gearboxes, there's oil, there's all of these things that have got to be addressed and maintained. And I see two things, the wrong equipment or not the right maintenance.
Yeah, thank you. Well, unfortunately, I think in the Philippines, maintenance is a huge issue really for, not only for mining companies, but generally. Yeah. Let me, perhaps at this point, if there are questions from the audience, we can again entertain a couple of questions. Yeah, well, if there are none, I was wondering, Randall, if you could share to us what carbon reduction technologies are practical and cost efficient in the Philippines, knowing that for mining companies, cost is a huge element. No?
I know, that's true. Currently, actually, with the Marcos government right now, it really starts. One is under scope 2, okay? if you notice, there are several renewables already that are available, right? You have wind, what else? Solar, you have battery, no? You can check and start on something as part of your operations, implementing renewables is one. It could help a lot and could reduce cost in your operations, basically. Okay, that's first. Second, with all the compliances that we need to ensure or make on a monthly basis, quarterly, as being discussed during your MRFCs, during the visits of MGB, EMB, in your different, in your respective tenements, no? Aside from discussing what programs have you implemented, for example, to the community, or to, for example, the environmental compliances, water, air, what else, soil, etc. You try to discuss to them your plan, okay? Your plan on reducing energy, consumption, no? Trying to convert some sources in complying to this. And then lastly, the cheapest way to do is really monitor. Gather all the documents that you have. Okay? Gather all the documents you have, you check, you analyze, you check. That's the cheapest way to do. And then from there, try to implement your best practice. Why have you achieved a reduction in energy cost, in fuel cost? And you can start from there and help the environment, reducing carbon emissions.
Thank you. So I suppose the level of awareness in respect of carbon reduction is still something that the Philippines will have to contend with. No? Well, going back to you, Steve, I was wondering, the significant development in artificial intelligence is one factor that the mining companies in the Philippines have to deal with as well. I was wondering what your company's products and services are in respect of having this AI addressed for mining companies.
If you look at this predictive maintenance that I was talking about, the data that we're collecting off the cranes into that data warehouse, we are already using AI to do the analysis for this predictive maintenance, so we can already make, it's already launched, we use it today already, so it's not even coming. So, this AI is actually putting that predictive maintenance criteria on the table for us already today. And if you look at that, that digital ecosystem I was talking about, that is completely, there's no paper anymore. There's still a lot of traditional companies that'll come and do the service. They have pages of paper, they're handing that paper. Our technicians are doing this live with a device we call Slim. That's immediately going into the portal. The customer has real-time access to exactly what's going on with their cranes, where they've spent the money, the breakdowns, and there's completely no paper, and that's an example of the efficiencies it's putting into the maintenance.
Thank you. So rather than totally replacing manual labor and human intelligence, I think it's meant really to address efficiency.
I mean, we can't take away a technician going on site to do the service, but what we are doing is making them more efficient, which is reducing the costs for the customers, and that's the focus.
Okay, so thank you. There being no other questions, Alan, please. Mic for Alan Blackley of QED.
A question for you, Steve. I'm just interested, you talk about using AI, and that's great. What about robotics in your industry? Is that coming, or is that probably a stretch too far?
I think robotics is, if you think of a small jib crane, for example, that's maybe lifting equipment on a workstation, and there's a welder there, we're already seeing the trend where that robot is actually doing the lifting and doing away with the need to have that overhead jib crane, for example. So those trends are coming and we can see them, but the automation in waste-to-energy plants and some of the coil handling process and everything, we are delivering that automation today. And some of the waste to energy plants that we have delivered, there's no operator at all. It's just fully automated, picking up the waste and taking it to the burner. So the automation is quite strong. The robotics is something we see coming.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if you'd, I'd like to see a ship unloaded all by robotics. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those adjacent industries that we have to pay attention to, and it's definitely on our radar of what we can do with that industry or those products in future.
Okay, thank you. Any other question, please? If there are none, may I invite again the audience to please express our deep appreciation to our speakers, Steve Gagnuss and Randall Evangelista. Thank you also to everyone. So while they're preparing for a raffle, I'd like to remind everyone today that we will be issuing certificates of attendance to attendees, and you can request a copy from the administration people. Send a request to info@philippineminingclub.com.